Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hi guys, and welcome to the 53rd episode of the Yarn Junkie podcast. If you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back, and if you're a new viewer, thank you so much for joining me. If this is your first time, my name is Amber. This is the Yarn Junkie podcast. This is my little corner about all things yarn and my projects that I am currently working on. I'm coming to you from Texas, where I live with my husband, our 2 daughters, and our mini animals. I have quite a bit to show you, so I'm just going to jump right in, and I don't want to forget to talk about anything, even though I have notes. I'm going to be looking down at those and kind of scattered all over the place. If you are new, I can be found as Yarn Junkie on all of the places, _Yarn Junkie on Instagram, under Yarn Junkie with the number 6 on Ravelry, and then there is a Yarn Junkie podcast group. And I will have a question on this episode that hopefully some of you more seasoned knitters and crocheters can help me out with, because I don't know what to call it, a very sad thing that happened. So we'll get to that in a minute. I have, like I said, FOs. Let me show you guys what I've been working on. I did finally finish my Hey Holly Ho Hum sock blank. So I got this sock blank from Hey Holly Ho Hum because of Candace of the Pen Feathers and Pearls podcast. She knit the same sock blank. It was called Smog's Lair, and I had to knit it. I fell in love with it, and I really, really enjoyed this knit. It was dyed from red to purple to black, and then back from purple to red again. And so they were destined to be fraternal socks unless I wanted to rip it out and cake it and then knit it, which I did not. I wanted to knit it from the blank the whole time. I did utilize a bit of yarn management. Forgive me while I look around for the box. There it is. And I ripped out this black, this much of the black, just so I wouldn't have half of a black sock, really. And I plan to use this in heels and toes, so it's not going to be wasted at all. I knit these magic loop style, toe up, fish lips kiss heel, 64 stitches. And something I did notice on most of my socks lately, the second one is always a bit looser. So I think I'm going to have to start knitting them in tandem, and that way, you know, they end up being the same size. The stitch count's the same, everything's the same, it's just, I guess I'm more relaxed when I knit the second sock than I am when I knit the first. But I knit these using my Knit Pro Zings in size 2.25 millimeter, and I really, really do like these needles. And so after pulling out the black, what I did was I weighed the first sock, and then I put the sock blank on my weigher, my scale, not my weigher. I put the half of the sock blank on the scale and just wound it off until I had the same amount, but I was kind of scared, so I left a little bit more than I needed to, which gave me a little bit more of the black than I needed. And it left me just this tiny sliver of the red. And that's what I had left, other than that big ball of black. So those were so enjoyable to work on. And the next finished object that I have is this crocheted snowflake. So I didn't find a pattern that I liked online, and if you really wanted to know, I could write down what I did on this. What I found interesting is a Trella. I showed her this, my 11-year-old, after I was done crocheting it, and she said, oh, does it have 6 points? I didn't. Apparently she learned in science that almost always snowflakes have 6 points, and that's called the Bentley study, I believe, is what she told me. And I did Google it, and it's almost always true. Snowflakes have 6 points, so that's perfect that mine had 6 points. And this is going to be for the mine are in the box. This is for the Yearlong Ornaments Cal that is being hosted by a Homespun House and Maker's Haven. So Molly and Amber wanted everyone to crochet, sew, knit, make, embroider, any kind of making that you can do, handmade ornaments. And the goal is to just make 12 either throughout the year. You can do 12 in one go. You can make one a month. My goal is to do one a month, and I have a gorgeous little box that I got actually from Molly did a Yuletide swap, not this past Christmas, but the Christmas before last, and I got this box in that swap from my friend Robin, and I thought this was just so perfect to be able to store my finished ornaments in while we wait for Christmas. And so what I have in here right now is the scraps to the snowflake. This was just a Lion Brand worsted weight acrylic yarn with some sparkle, perfect for a snowflake. And then I also have a few crochet hooks. This green one is from Knit Picks, and I really, really like these. This is the Caspian crochet hook. These are really enjoyable to work with. I think that I want more of those. And then this is my Furls crochet hook, size F, that I just have in there in case I want to use it. And then I have for inspiration, I got this in a swap from Maga Makes a while back. And so I just have that in here for inspiration, and then a tiny little pair of snips so I can have all the tools I need ready to make ornaments. And so for my February ornament, I plan to use the Gnome is Where the Heart Is pattern that was gifted to me. And I'm really terrible about thanking people and mentioning when patterns have been gifted to me. And I just thank you so much to everyone that has ever gifted me a pattern. Thank you for the pattern. If you've recently gifted me a pattern and I haven't personally thanked you, just know that I really appreciate it, and I just don't always think about it and to thank you, which is terrible, and I'm the worsted, and I should always make it a point to thank people when they gift me things. But so the Gnome is Where the Heart Is. That's where I was going with that. That's going to be my February ornament, that little heart that they have in that pattern. And I also want to knit the gnome head too. I'm not sure if all the things have to hang. Molly did say that the things have to hang in her podcast, but then on her Ravelry group, a few people are making like ornaments that you can set, like the tree that I made, or a pumpkin, or things, you know, like the little elf I believe Leslie's making. She said they have to hang, but are ornaments that you can set on things, do those count? Because I think those little pumpkins are ornaments. Let me know. I'll have to check the group. We'll have to check the group together to be able to know if the ornaments count. So, or if the little things that you set count. Those were my snowflakes. I do have some older whips that I wanted to show you. Or not whips, I'm sorry. Finished objects. So, I always say that I'm a crocheter, then I so seldomly have crochet projects. But this is a really nice thing to have, just to whip up as a gift. And it is made with acrylic yarn. And say what you want about acrylic, but I don't always want to gift $40 worth of yarn to somebody. I'm a selfish knitter, and I would much rather go and get some nicer acrylic yarn and make that same person a gift that they'll still appreciate and that will still be super nice. And then I'm saving the like really nice yarn for myself. Is that terrible? Maybe not. But this is a cowl that I made a few years ago, actually. It's just, I'll put it on so you can see. Did I mention my haircut? If you are a returning viewer, you might notice that my hair is a lot different than it normally is. I got a haircut. But yeah, so this is just, it's really cozy with a hat and a coat on. And what I did, I can't remember if I followed a pattern for the cowl or if it was just a stitch pattern that I followed. But this stitch pattern is called the Moroccan tile stitch. I believe that's what it's called. And I think I found it like on Pinterest or something. But a tip that I wanted to give to all of you, maybe newer crocheters from a seasoned crocheter, is if you're doing your granny stripe blanket, if you're doing anything crocheting, especially accessories and garments, blankets, I feel like, and I've said this before, the chainless foundation is the best thing to do. It gives your project that extra stretch, just like the top of your project's going to be. So this is the top, and you see how much give it has. Well, when you do just your standard chain stitch for crocheting when you're starting a project, it does not have any give at all, especially if you're a new crocheter, because you generally crochet very tightly. And it's just, I mean, I've seen in most of my projects too, from when I first started, this like line of stitches is just, and it can also distort your project to where the bottom of it is, you know, it kind of leans in on just that bottom stitch. So in order to have kind of a smoother overall effect, you just do your chainless foundation. And it is so easy to do. There are so many tutorials online, YouTube tutorials to do it. And it's just basically you chain 2 and then watch the tutorial. I'm terrible at explaining things. Y'all know this. I try to explain things every time and I fail miserably. But I really enjoyed, and I think this is a really cool variation if you don't necessarily like the holiness of the granny stripes. This is still holy. Like it's got tiny little holes in it, but it's not as gapey as the granny stripe. And I probably crocheted this on a K-hook. So, I mean, you can even, with fingering weight and a smaller hook, it would be less. But this stitch, all it is you do a V-stitch with your base color, which is the green, a V-stitch, which is, if you don't know, a double crochet, chain 2, a double crochet into the same stitch, and then you skip, and then you do that across. And then the next color you take and you do a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet all the way across. And I thought that would be a really neat way to do the granny stripe, is to do the Moroccan tile stitch. That way you can have like a base color of cream or black, and then with every stripe a different color of mini. I might do that. That would be really gorgeous. And so the yarns I used on this, forgive me while I look around for them, are, like I said, acrylic yarns. You can pick these up at most places like Joann's. I think Michael's carries these brands. Hobby Lobby, maybe. Though I'm not sure if they carry these exact brands or not. But this is just a tonal worsted Lion brand Heartland, and it's just an acrylic yarn. This is the Hayloft, Yellowstone colorway. Yellowstone. And then, so this one, I don't know what the green is, but that's the same yarn for sure, the same base. And then the colored yarn here is Red Heart Boutique Unforgettable. And again, this isn't the same colorway that I used in this cowl, but it's the same brand of yarn. And this colorway is the stained glass. And I love using acrylic yarn for, like I said, gift or charity knitting, because it's just more practical than spending a fortune on gift knitting. And this yarn was not that enjoyable to work with, I will say. As much as I love the colors and the long striping, I actually made a little shrug for my littlest daughter out of this a few years ago, and it's gorgeous. It works up beautifully for acrylic yarn, but it's a single, and it's the pits to rip back. I'm gonna sneeze. I didn't sneeze, but I did press pause in case I did, which was nice. But yeah, this single is just, oh my gosh, the worst to rip back. Whether you're knitting or crocheting with it, don't make a mistake. But that was that project. That was kind of a lot of talking for that. And then a couple of more crochet things that I did that I want to show you guys, especially with Valentine's Day coming up, These are so ratty looking because, again, I probably made these 3 years ago for my daughters, and they're just little ear warmers. And if I made them again, I would probably crochet more rounds so it was wider. But this was for my littlest one at the time, and she was small, so it fit her well enough. But when I made this, I actually followed a pattern, and then I went back probably a year or 2 later to make it again, and I couldn't find the pattern online anymore. So I don't know what happened to it. I don't know if it disappeared or what. And again, it looked a lot better when I first made it. But this is, the red was a Vantage Choice yarn, and then that sparkle is that same that I just showed you for the snowflake. Just some random worsted weight, probably Line brand yarn that I had in my stash. And so how I did this was, again, the chainless foundation crochet stitch, however many goes on your head. And then I did a front post, back post stitch, which is the ribbing for crochet. And then I probably did another round of crochet stitches. And then these, the heart is actually a puff stitch. So you double crochet 5, single crochet those together, chain 1 or 2, and then do this puff stitch again. Double crochet 5, and then, you know, once you have your 5 double crochets, you just kind of like slip stitch them together so it like puffs out. If you're not a crocheter, this probably makes no sense to you. Or if you're a new crocheter, I promise there are tutorials for puff stitch, and it's so worth it, and it's so cute. You should definitely check it out if you haven't crocheted it before. And this is the other one that I made. Again, this is probably a Vantage Choice white yarn, just some acrylic. And then this is actually a wool yarn that I got. I can't remember the brand, but it's like a really thick, bulky. I liked how those hearts turned out. It looks much better kind of abstract further back than it does up close. The closer you get, the hearts are kind of distorted, but it was just a cute, like I said, little Valentine's Day. My bangs are ridiculous. Ear warmer. So maybe Pinterest has the pattern, Crochet Valentine's ear warmer. Google that. Maybe it will come up. If it does, I will put it in the project notes that I never write. Yay. So another crochet project that I have, you guys. Yes, there's one more. I have been knitting the hexies, as I've showed y'all, the little Tiny Owl Knits Beekeeper quilt pattern. I've been working on that, and I've also been knitting my sock scraps into my Cozy Memories blanket. With both of those, I have scraps left over. Like, I probably only use 3 grams to knit a hexie, so I often have anywhere from 1 to 7 or so grams left. Sometimes, you know, it's just a tiny bit of yarn. Sometimes it's more. But so what I had, and I have all of those in this little cute zipper monster pouch that I got when I took the girls back to school shopping. But in order to use more scraps, I decided to start a crochet blanket. Hopefully I won't poke myself because there's like, these are poked through. These are African flower crochet motifs, that's the word, that I started. So because I wasn't using all my scraps, I thought, oh, I could do a motif with them, and that would be really cute just to sort of piece the whole blanket together that way. And this is, you know, one of those lifelong whips again, but I'm really, really enjoying this pattern. It's a free pattern. I just Googled crochet African flower. It's very, very easy. If you can do your granny stripe, you can do this. It's just working in the round, no big deal. And yes, I will have to piece them together, and that will probably be a very big deal, but we'll see how it goes. And I have my yarn in this project bag that was a gift from Sam. It's got camping all over it. We just went camping this weekend. Not this weekend, today's Monday. We went camping last weekend. But so what I've been doing for my center, all of my centers will be this Madelinetosh daffodil yarn. And this is the same yarn as I'm knitting for my color A in my Find Your Fade shawl. And I have plenty of this. I have a sweater's quantity more than I need for the sweater I want to knit. And this takes such a teeny tiny amount for that first 2 rows that it's likely I'll probably get through this and not even need that much more for the entire blanket. I plan to make it maybe, I'm thinking throw size right now, but that might change. And then I'll just leave this right here for a second so I can get the other. I'm trying to make it not poke me though, so we'll see. So that's my first round, and then my second, or my first and second round. My third and fourth round are just whatever scraps I have. And then my 5th round is this. And I've got this in a swap that my local yarn store did. We just brought yarn from our stash, and if we didn't want it anymore, maybe somebody else had something we wanted, and we swapped with them. So this is a Gnome Acres yarn, which I'd never used before. It's so super sparkly. I love it. And it is the perfect meadow yarn. Like, that is what flowers sit on, a meadow. And so that is what my 5th round of my flower is on all of them. On this one, it kind of washes it out, but I still plan to use the green for all of the flowers. And then I was really struggling with what my last row needed to be. I didn't know if I wanted to use cream or black. I put it to Instagram, like you do, and it was about 50-50, but my husband really wanted the black. He thought black would be better suited for our family. He said, our family doesn't really do cream, babe. So black it is, and I think that it looks really pretty. I think someone even commented that the black made it pop like stained glass, and I agree with that. So I'm glad that I went with the black. And the black is just some knit picks that I had in the stash. And I'm using my Furls crochet hook on those, and this is in size E, just one of their wooden heirloom hooks. They're a company in Austin, Texas, so I really like supporting them, and I love their hooks. I love crocheting with those. So that is that project. I am loving it, and I can just pick up and make one of those in no time at all. I mean, it probably takes me 10 or 15 minutes to make one. I'll probably time myself, and we'll see. We'll see how long it takes. I am a little behind on my hexies. We'll stop it right here, and I'll gather all that up, and we'll talk about that next. Be right back. Okay, so I am a little behind on my hexies still. I got caught up, and then I got behind again. I do have a bunch that I've made. This bag is almost full, not really almost full. It's got hexies up to here. So I can still fit another month of hexies in there. What I plan to do for February, actually, is I took out all my minis. This is my homespun house bag that I got last Valentine's Day. Look at those kitty cats. So what I did is I went through all my minis and got out all of the pink minis. So for February, I'm just gonna knit with, you know, beautiful pink minis. I just thought that would be fun to kind of change it up and maybe have a theme one month, maybe the next month just grab as I will. And I'm excited for that though. So I popped all of those in there, and it has the whole month ready to go. And I have my cute little coffee cup progress keeper from the Knitty by Nature shop. And that's exciting. And I did get a new pair of needles. I was showing you guys, I was working on my hexies on this magic loop style, and it was a little too tight to be doing that. I was making it work, but still these just aren't the best for magic loop. I kind of needed more cord. So I was at my local yarn store doing an exchange actually, and ended up getting these new needles for my hexagons, or my Beekeeper's quilt. And these are the Addy Nature needles. They're wood, and they're olive wood. It says, the olive wood is taken from trees that no longer bear fruit. As a rule, the wood is 150 years old, and being turned into your Addy olive wood knitting needles gives it a beautiful new lease on life. I won't read you all of it, but that's really cool. And Addie is definitely my favorite needle for fixed circulars. I like the join the best on these. I find it is the smoothest for moving in and out of your knitting. It just, especially these, I mean the wooden ones, it is catching a little, but that's probably the way I'm doing it. But yeah, so there's a hexie that I've got halfway done. And so I'm gonna look down at my notes for a second because I feel like I got off track. I showed y'all, I was gonna show y'all my January sock whip. It is a big fail. So I started the Mercury socks. I love this pattern. It is a free pattern on Ravelry that everyone is knitting, and I can totally see why, because it is such an enjoyable knit. I decided to only knit my pattern on the front half of the sock because I am a new lace knitter and I just felt like that would be better for me. I did vanilla on the back. I didn't follow the pattern exactly because I did a 1x1 rib, and I got all the way, the last time I showed you guys I hadn't done the heel, but I have now, just a fish lips conceal. Again, I did not stick to the pattern. And then right where this progress keeper is, I realized I'd been knitting the pattern wrong the entire time. It is not a big deal. I was just omitting the 5th row of the pattern, only knitting 4 rows of the 5-row repeat. And so it's not a big deal. It doesn't take away from the lace pattern at all, but it's just kind of a bummer that I was just like completely skipped the 5th row. Who does that? And when I was knitting these, I really did think I liked how this yarn was working up, but the further I got along, the more I didn't like it. And I just thought, well, I'm not gonna rip it back now. And of course, now that I'm halfway done with the first sock, I've decided I'm definitely ripping this out. I don't like the way it's worked up, and I would like it much better in a different sock. So what I will do with this yarn instead, this is the Yarn Ink Beast Flat colorway. She did a collaboration with Miss Brown Bags, and so I was watching the Grocery Girls, Miss Brown's Bags, co-host on the Grocery Girls, if you didn't know, which I'm sure you did. And Tracy was knitting a pair of socks for her daughter Georgia, and they were so cute. Like, she went from the ribbing to the heel, and she did a dropped heel flap and gusset, and then I think it was like a 3x1 rib or something. I'll have to go ask her what exactly she did, but I think that would be really cute for this yarn. So I'm going to rip these out and start those probably with these same needles. These are my Knitter's Pride Royal knitting needles, and I love these. One of my wish list items for the year, if I do really good with not buying yarn, I'll probably gift myself for my birthday or Christmas the DPN set of Knitter's Pride Royals because I like them that much, and they're just so beautiful. They're all different color wood grains, and I only have this one set, but I really like them. And I'm knitting with 4 needles because, again, if you didn't know, I broke the other one on accident. It wasn't like I was knitting with it and it broke. It was my fault. I just pretty much sat on it. What else? I'm gonna look down at my notes because, again, I'm jumping around. Frog and Mercury socks. Showed you my dragon socks that are done. You want to talk about my boxes of sockses? Let's talk about this sock. So because I was frogging that sock, I cast on a new pair of socks in my beautiful Handmade by Olivia project bag. I can't even get over. I really love the detail that she did on this bag. I don't use it enough because it isn't my favorite bag construction, which is ridiculous because this is my jam. Like, I love this. And I love the fabric she chose. I'm getting over the fabric, the bag construction, and I'm using it more and loving it. So you know how you have a certain bag that you like. I'm sure that if you're a purse carrier, you just have one purse that you just love more than all of your other purses. I feel that way about a certain project bag maker. But here, so because I had a fail with the Mercury socks, I decided I needed to quick cast on another pair of January socks so I could stay on my box of socks track. And so I cast on these. I had the idea to do the Pixel Rise pattern on just the toe and the heel portion of the sock. Now I'm thinking it might not work the way I was hoping it will on the heel. We'll have to see when I get that far. But on the toe, I think it turned out marvelously. I really, really like it. This is my color A and my color B of Find Your Fade. And when I was knitting this into my fade, I just thought, I have to knit a pair of rollers with these. I have a pair of rollers on right now. Rose City Rollers is the pattern, if you don't know what I'm talking about. And it is a cuff down pattern, but I'm knitting these toe up. It will be fine. Here's a pair that I knit cuff down with the heel flap and gusset. And this yarn was the Brazen Stitchery District 12. And this is like, I knew, like, see how it's kind of micro striped? I knew this Bohemia Fibers yarn that I'm knitting with right now would be knitting up the same way. So I really love the socks that I have on, and I wanted another pair similar to it. So that yarn is so gorgeous. And I have my little Progress Keeper from the Knitting by Nature shop. And I'm knitting these on 2.50 millimeter needles. And this is the Zings, Knit Pro Zings. They fit, let me grab, so I can't reach it. There's my needle gauge, but these fit in the 2.25 slot as well as the 2.50 slot. So when I started knitting these, I wanted to do it on a little bit of a bigger needle because of the fair isle. I wanted to make sure they fit over my foot. And the more I knit with them, I did this part on DPNs and then switched. But the more I knit with them, the more I realized this is huge. Oh my gosh, it's huge. I did 64 stitch count, and it was just entirely too big. So instead of ripping it out and restarting it, what I did was I did a few decreases on each side. So it's kind of like, womp. But I think that will block out a little bit. And I went down to 56 stitches. Yeah. And I'm liking that much better. I've tried it on my foot several times, and it's gonna be perfect. And the fabric still is nice, so I'm not concerned with knitting them on a bigger diameter needle. But that is that yarn. It was a custom dye job based off of a photo that I took. And again, it was Bohemia Fibers. Really love it. I really loved it, this project. But yeah, so those are just going to be kind of like in the background knitting since January is almost over. Those are my January socks, but we'll see what happens. I want to talk about my boxes of sockses. I have many boxes of sockses. So my husband, when I got done with my dragon socks, he really wanted them for himself. He basically begged me for them. I said, no way, I knit these for me, so sorry, buy yarn if you want me to knit you socks. He loves me to knit him stuff, but then he doesn't always like to buy yarn. I'm a selfish knitter. If I'm going to be buying my yarn, I'm going to knit all the yarn into things for me. But the other day when he threw a fit about not having any socks, he does have a few. But his socks are all from when I first started knitting socks, and none of them fit just perfectly. The very first pair of socks I knit him, I knit on a size 3 needle, and they're just really loose. The second pair of socks I knit him were a pair of ankle socks, and I didn't knit enough before I went to the heel, so they just sort of slide off his foot. And the third pair of socks I knit him were Christmas socks, and I knit those on a size 70 or on a 72 stitch count. And we've since discovered that he's definitely a 64 stitch count, not a 72. And those are just huge. And again, they slide off his feet, so he doesn't like wearing them. So because of his big baby fit that he threw, when I was organizing my stash and moving everything around, I put together a box of socks for him. So here's his box. This is a Try the World box. I got him the Try the World food subscription a few years ago for his birthday. He loved it. It was amazing. And I thought, what a perfect thing to put his socks in. So I have his foot in here. I have some yarns from Knit Picks. I have this sock cast on that I cast on when we went to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. This is the Lupin colorway by Nomadic Yarns. And I was knitting these for me, but I decided these can be for him. That's fine. He wants more socks. I'm nice like that, even though Lupin is like my favorite. These are a pair that I started for him for this past Christmas that I decided I did not like the stitch I was doing, and so I'm going to rip these out and reknit them using the Socks on a Plane pattern. Here's another yarn. This is the Cat's Kettle, one of her Halloween clubs. I just thought it was a really nice manly color. And I'm thinking, I've been wanting to knit the Guitar Man socks since seeing Carlenergy. She used to have a podcast, she doesn't anymore. But Carlene, I miss you if you're watching. She knit a pair of guitar socks and they were so awesome, and I've had them in my queue forever. So I'm thinking those are gonna be Guitar Man socks. But yeah, so those are his box of socks, and it's not all I did. I didn't just create a box of socks for him. I cast on a box of socks, and it's living in my project bag by my friend Celia. She gifted this to me in a swap, and I really love the interior micro star fabric. That's so cute. And when she gifted me the swap, or when we did the swap, she wanted either Patton's Croy or maybe Knit Picks yarn, the Fleechy. I'm not sure what I sent her. She sent me the Regia Arnie and Carlos design line, which if I were in a store with all the Arnie and Carlos that I've seen, this is definitely the colorway that I would have picked to buy, because I love this colorway so much, and I love how these are knitting up. So again, like I mentioned with my dragon socks, here lately, bear with me, I have yarn everywhere. Here lately, I've noticed my second sock is always a bit looser than my first. So you know that I do not do 2 at a time socks. I am a 2 at a time failure. I've tried several times to do 2 at a time, and it's just not my preferred sock knitting method. But I thought, well, I'll just do socks in tandem. And I put these on my DPNs. I just started these on my DPNs, and I forgot how much I love DPNs. I know I said that on my Christmas socks, and then I'm knitting those others on the Royals. These are my Carbons DPNs. They sing my heart song. Like, you know, in Harry Potter, when he goes to the the wand shop, and you know, he's blowing things up with this wand, and he's shattering things with that wand, and then he takes his wand and he's like, ah. That's how I feel when I knit with these. DPNs, Carbons, no other carbon needles do I like. I don't like their fixed. I don't really like their interchangeable. I have their interchangeable set and I never use it. Like, they're interchangeable. The cord and dealing with that, such a hassle, such a hassle. But they're DPNs, guys. I could go on and on about them, but I won't, and I will talk about my project. So I started these socks for Tim, and I'm doing them in tandem. So I cast this one on first, and then knit the ribbing, cast this one on, knit the ribbing, 10 rows on this one, 10 rows on this one, etc. I did not waste the time trying to match these up, but let me just say how much more I like how this one is knitting up. Look at those micro stripes. And maybe I just haven't gotten to that section on this one yet. I'm not sure. But look. Oh, I love that. I really, really love that. I love that burnt orange that's in there. These are so pretty. Or handsome, since they're for my husband. Whatever. He can have pretty socks. And I have my little knit coat, my little DPN cozy. I'm sorry, my dog is like standing on the arm of the couch. I won't make you sick to like turn the camera, but it looks ridiculous. But yeah, so those are Tim's socks. I cast them on, I'm working on them. My plan is I probably won't get to all the yarn I just showed you for him, but I definitely want to knit him a pair of socks for anniversary, which is in April, his birthday, which is in June, and then Christmas socks for him. So, and I know I won't be able to enter those into Valentine's box of socks because that's just selfish knitting, but I think there are several other people that are doing year-long socks that are open to, you know, non-selfish sock knitting. I also got together a box of socks for my girls, I knit them a pair of socks every year since I've started knitting socks for their birthday and for back to school. And so I can't like not knit them a pair of socks for back to school and for their birthday this year. And then I also, you know, want to have it in my Cozy Memories blanket, like, oh, well, that was your kindergarten pair of socks. That was your first grade pair of socks. Cheesy, maybe, but yeah, that's got to happen. So what I'm going to do for back to school is both of these Felici yarns that I have, just Knit Picks Felici. This is the rainbow colorway, and this is the Lost Lakes colorway. So this will be Prudence's socks, and these will be Atrella socks. And then for their birthday, I'm going to knit Atrella this mustache yarn, Beetlejuice. It's a self-striping. Beetlejuice is like one of her all-time favorite movies. And then for Prudence, I actually knit these last year for Pin Feathers and Pearls. Candace, she did a stripy socks cowl, and I knit these doing 2 at a time for the first time and didn't realize how way off my gauge would be, because these don't fit anybody in our family. They are way too tight. And I did a twisted rib on the top, and these don't fit anybody. So I'm going to cut the toe out and recake them and knit them for Prudence. But these are the OCD self-striping by Mustache yarns. Oh man, I love this. And this is a Pink Floyd inspired yarn. I think it's like Beyond the Wall. So that's the girls' Boxo socks. And then my own Boxo socks, I will just quickly run through. My box is here. And I had this box for last year too, but again, like I knit everyone's socks. I knit more than 12 pair, but they weren't just for me. This year, I really hope to knit, like I said, a pair for my husband for those 3 occasions, the 2 pair each for my girls. So already we're at quite a few socks, and then I still plan to knit 12 for myself. We'll see if I knit all those socks. It is my goal too. But this is just a tin, a barn tin that I got at a resale shop somewhere. It's got a roof. It's got fire mantles. It opens. It's my box. And then I've got, it's got like spider webs in and out. It's a barn. These are going to be used for heels, cuffs, and bows on some of the socks. Sorry for that loudness. And I will, again, quickly run through what I plan. I'm going to go backwards. So Christmas, my December cast on will be, it was supposed to be this past Christmas, but oh well. Jinx yarn, Naughty or Nice, in her self-striping colorway. And I plan to do the contrasting just heels in this little sparkly from Brazen Stitchery. This is the Gandalf the Grey colorway. But I thought it would be really nice to do that'd be so Christmassy to do sparkly heels on that. So that's my December. My November is this Hedgehog Fibers in colorway. It's a potluck colorway, but I just thought that would be such a fun pair of birthday socks. My birthday's in November. And I plan to do a contrast heel for those, or a coordinating heel for those as well on that purple. And this purple is I can't think of the name, so I won't struggle with it. My October is going to be this Jinx yarn in her Witching Hour self-striping colorway. Perfect for Halloween. My September is going to be this other kind of Halloween-inspired Practical Magic skein of yarn. That's the colorway Practical Magic by Nomadic Yarns. Can you even? Her colorways are just phenomenal. Ashley is amazing. So September, that was September. August is going to be Don't Touch Those Leaves, which is a lacy leaf pattern, sock pattern, and it's going to be this, which is the skein didn't come this way, let me say. I had this caked and knit a pair of socks. You can see like the yarn is kind of squiggly. I knit half a pair of socks and then ripped them out because I didn't like them. But this is from Laura of The Fawn and the Fox. Lara, sorry, I always say Laura, Lara, in her The Fantastic Mr. Fox colorway. And I think this was grape jelly or something, the mini. But I love this colorway so much. And I actually just watched The Fantastic Mr. Fox with the girls this weekend. And it's so funny. He's like, they're a bunch of animals, and when they get angry, they're like, what the cuss? Instead of cussing, they say cuss. And it's just so funny. But that was August. Let me see. Yeah. This will be maybe July. This is I got this in California. It's a local dyed from Claremont, California in Point Conception. It's Material Culture Fiber Arts. Lucy, quit doing that. June will be this, not Lost Lakes. So look how similar this looks though. So obviously the hand-dyed skein is much, much, much more saturated, but I love how it's similar to this Knit Picks Fleechy. So this is Lake Life. The Knit Picks Fleechy is Lost Lakes. But this will be my June socks. And I'm thinking about doing the Afterthought Everything socks. Melissa was just talking about, Spicy Homemaker was just talking about those socks. And I thought that would be a fun way to use that self-striping yarn. So what are we at? That was June. We have May. This gorgeous sock blank from Andre Sue Knits. I'm going to have to figure out a way to preserve at least one whole butterfly to make a pillow or maybe put it in a frame. I know when a few months ago on Andy's YouTube, she had made a sheet pillow with one of her blanks. So I think I could do that or just put it in a frame. I mean, if you haven't seen one of her hand-painted sock blanks, behold. Because it's just like a work of art. And that's another Andre Sue sock blank that I will never knit. That's just forever going to be a decoration, I've decided. It's just too beautiful to even worry about ever knitting it. So that's May. April is going to be another Jinx yarn. This is her anniversary colorway for, I think, her 5th year hand dyeing yarn. And it's a self-striping, but it's just really soft, beautiful pastels, which I thought would be perfect for April, Easter. It's nice. March, so the Mercury socks, I am going to knit them. And I thought it would be perfect for a tonal. Again, please forgive the state of this skein. I actually put it on the Swift and wound off some for heels and toes. Or actually I just used it for heels, but the skein does not usually look like this when it comes. It's a Wool and Vine Yarns in her Succulents colorway. And yeah, that's going to be the most gorgeous pair of Mercury socks. Don't you agree? Yeah. So that's going to be March. I'm just saying that these are going to be whatever month. I might cast them on. I might change my mind. I might cast them on in advance. I think as long as I have 12 pairs, it doesn't really matter what month I cast them on in. So these are my February socks, but these do have to be knit in February because of the pattern I'm going to use. This is just Knit Picks, both of these, Stroll Fingering, Thunderhead tonal, and Heartfelt tonal. And I've been wanting to knit the Dale socks by Homespun House, and I've had the pattern for quite a while. I did start the pattern in a different yarn and decided it has to be a red because it's got a Fair Isle heart stitch, and I just feel like that's going to be perfect in red for the hearts. So that's my box of socks. Those are my plans. I hope that wasn't too boring for any of y'all to see all of that yarn. What am I kidding? You love yarn, right? Another project that I did work on was Atrella's Little Honey. And I got to the sleeve separation and I kind of decided I was loving the colors. And then once I separated for the sleeves, I don't know if it's that I don't love the colors or I'm just so irritated by alternating 3 skeins of yarn every few rows. So there's what I have so far. Tell me what you think. I'm kind of thinking about frogging it and starting something else, or doing this in a different yarn for her. And I'll show you the yarn I'm thinking. But I would hate to lose all this progress. It is nice. The bases together are so soft, even though they're not the same. You can't even tell. But I think the biggest pain in my ass about this project is having to carry all of these yarns together. And I'm just not enjoying that. Look at that. Like, I have to yarn management every time, and it's just not enjoyable anymore. So what I did this week, let me peek down at my notes to make sure I got through everything. Did my sock fail? Did I talk about making bread? Yeah. So I'm gonna pause it right here. I'll be right back. I'm gonna resituate some things and talk some more.